You've probably noticed the sign that we have up here on your left. It's a borrowed sign that we will return in about a week and a half. And it says, "Church shouldn't hurt," exclamation point. And then it says, "The United Church of Christ," and then a question. Let's talk about it. I like the idea that there's a question mark there. It's because it's not a statement. Honestly, some people, understandably, are unable to talk to their abusers, right? Using trauma-informed language, you know that sometimes when you have hurt people, they don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to be around you. And so it's an invitation. Let's talk about it, because we're acknowledging that there's been hurt imposed upon people by the church. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But several of you have asked about a word that we had out on the sign a couple of weeks ago, Sumud, S-U-M-U-D. Some of you thought it was an acronym and you weren't quite catching on. Some of you thought there was a misspelling, because sometimes I give Tom misspellings out there on the sign. But Sumud is a word that I heard when I was at a Palestinian dance show at Logan Chiropractics not that long ago. It's an Arabic word, Sumud, which means steadfastness or steadfast perseverance. It comes from the verb samada, which means to defy, to be brave, to withstand. And it comes from the Palestinian culture, where they have had to withstand incredible oppression, and where they have had to be resistant proof so that they can continue and so that they can rise again and again when they have been knocked down. And there are two different kinds of sumud. One is static, which is kind of more passive, which is kind of a maintenance of them just living on their Palestinian land. And then there's one that is resistance sumud. So that's a little tougher, it's a little bit stronger, and it's more dynamic, and it seeks a way of building alternative institutions. So in the oppression and the, I'm losing my words today, I'm sorry. So as they are held down and as they don't have as much agency, they are looking to find alternative solutions and possibilities for where they are. And so there's this static sumud, and then there's this creative, dynamic, resistant sumud. And the ultimate symbol from sumud is rootedness. So roots that come out of the tree that you can see coming out of the ground, a real sense of being part of the earth, of not going anywhere, being able to resist the winds and the struggles that there are. And in a lot of Palestinian artwork, Sumud is shown as a mother, specifically a peasant woman who is pregnant. So a peasant woman who is pregnant that has a lot of challenges within her and around her, and yet she is feeling defiant, feeling sturdy, feeling Sumud, that idea inside of her. Today is International Women's Day. It has happened annually on March 8th for well over 100 years. This week, we're going to get to that in a minute too. This week, out on the sign, maybe you've noticed that we had a wish and a blessing for our Muslim siblings. It says Ramadan Mubarak, which is Happy Ramadan, to our Muslim friends. We put that up the day after our annual Intertwined Interfaith Iftar, where we had our Muslim and Jewish friends here to celebrate that evening's breaking of the fast during this fasting time of Ramadan. On the other side of the sign this week, it has said that all may be one. That's a quote from Jesus, that all may be one. It's important for us to realize that the things that we do and the things that we say are rooted in Christianity, rooted in our faith. And so some people sometimes ask, why are we so involved in interfaith partnerships and relationships? It's because Jesus said that all may be one. He didn't say separate, go into silos, stay in your tribes. He said that all may be one. And so on one side of the sign this week, we have had Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim friends. And on the other side, we have our rooting and our grounding and our purpose for the ways that we live our life. And that is that Jesus said that all may be one. Starting later today, the sign will be switched because we change it weekly, and it will say, move in mutuality. So it kind of feels similar to what we've been talking about, move in mutuality. The other side will say, build, repair, strengthen, and sustain. Build, repair, strengthen, and sustain. So these messages of unity, particularly these messages during a time of division, are really important to us because they come from what we have heard Jesus say about how to live and how to be connected and how to belong to each other. And for us, putting things like that out on the sign seems very simple, very easy. It just flows from who we understand we are because we listen to the things that Jesus says about community and serving each other and listening to each other and crossing some chasms and divides that other people might put in the way, because we understand that to be courageous and brave and to move toward each other as opposed to away from each other is what the Holy wants us to do. You may have heard about a church down the street on Clayton Road that this week had out there on their sign something dramatically different from what we tend to place on our signs. It said, "Pray against Islam, a demonic religion." Pray against Islam, a demonic religion. And then underneath it said, Sunday 10 a.m. Like, come on by 10 a.m. We'll maybe talk about this or help you understand why we believe this. I'm not really sure. So in one of my roles in the community as part of the Interfaith Partnership Cabinet, and that's for religious leaders in the area, I'm responsible with a team of people to write statements that go out to St. Louis when we find something that is incredibly wonderful and beautiful and a blessing. We don't get to do that very often, unfortunately. We more often make statements because of something that is tragic and difficult and tears at the fabric of community. And so we got lots of phone calls from people who had heard about the sign, and they wanted us to make a statement. Maybe some of you have seen the picture of this sign on social media, and we were doing a little bit of research because with AI, artificial intelligence, and how successful people that scam us can be, we wanted to make sure that that sign was actually real. Unfortunately, it was easily believable that someone would have a sign like that, but we wanted to make sure that it was real because all the places that we saw it posted, nobody said, I saw this sign, here's a photograph that I took. They just were perpetuating this photograph, and we weren't sure. And so we were told that a group of neighbors had gone to the Chesterfield police to find out what was going on and to ask the police to go and speak directly to that church to get them to take that sign down. Chesterfield Police is open 24/7, and so I was able to call them late on Thursday night, and they told me, unfortunately, that even though it's a Chesterfield address, it's actually in the Baldwin Police Department. You can understand if you live in St. Louis that municipalities and lines and divisions don't always land where you think they're going to. Baldwin Police Department is not open 24/7, and so at 8 a.m. on Friday, I called them to ask, did a group of people come down to the police department and ask you to go to this church to talk about this sign? We're trying to discern whether or not that sign is factual. Is it real? Did someone actually put that out on the sign? They told us that they had not had any calls. Just like the Chesterfield Police Department said, they had not had any calls. Nobody had visited the police department, and even if they had, they wouldn't go and do anything about it because of free speech. And so we wondered still, was this sign really out there? Was it factual? Did any real person take that picture, or did someone just craft that through AI to just stir up trouble and to just grow, deepen, widen some of the divides within people? So we found one place in social media and then in the newspaper online that someone said that they saw it and they took the picture. So we still have a lot of work to do to figure out what's real. And people like me who are naive don't think that someone could possibly have done that. And it takes us a little bit longer to catch up with the truth that people do feel this way and will publicly share that kind of sentiment. And so now back to this sign a little bit. Church shouldn't hurt. The United Church of Christ, let's talk about it. So this idea that we are trying to apologize. Our denomination is trying to say that we know that churches hurt people. We know that they do. We know that down through the ages, churches have really maimed people in a variety of ways and for a variety of reasons. And we want to talk about it. And so that question at the bottom, let's talk about it, ? Is an invitation. And it's saying that we are willing to look at ourselves honestly and to be truthful about the things that we have done that now we wish we had not done. Looking at the things that we said that now we wish we had not said. And I wonder often what it's going to be like for us in the future. What will we need to apologize for that we're doing right now? What are some of the things that we say and do? What are some of the actions that we take, or things that we don't say, or actions that we don't take? And how will we need to apologize for those things? Our denomination has been out there and tried to make amends. They've talked with Hawaii about the horrendous things that missionaries did in Hawaii. They've talked with Native Americans about the boarding schools and how we put children in Native American boarding schools to take away their culture, to cut their hair, to tell them to assimilate, to become just like us. And so I wonder what will be the things that we will need to apologize for in the future. So this sign came here because it was part of the Gateway Open and Affirming Convocation yesterday. For 14 years, we in St. Louis, in our UCC churches and disciples churches and other churches have gotten together to talk about our welcome and our hospitality and our inclusivity and how we can be more embracing, how we can live into that idea that Jesus says that all may be one, how we can try to move away from anybody who says that we're different, that some are demonic, that some are evil, that some don't belong, that some should be sent away, that some should not be respected, that some should not have a vote or a choice or anything that gives them full personhood. And we talked yesterday the theme of sacred, seen, and called. Because we're all sacred and we live on sacred ground. We create this sanctuary, this sacred space. We are all seen. You might remember Jesus seeing the woman at the well, Jesus seeing blind Bartimaeus on the side of the road, Jesus seeing Zacchaeus up in the tree, Jesus seeing the women at the tomb. Jesus sees us, sees people, and then calls them, beckons them, invites them to be part of love, invites them to be part of solutions, invites them to be part of justice, invites them to be part of joy. I know some of you watched the memorial service the other day for Jesse Jackson, which took place in Chicago, and one of our UCC clergy, Otis Moss from Trinity UCC in Chicago, spoke, and he talked about keeping some of the legacy of Jesse Jackson alive and saying we need to dare to keep hope alive, and we need to speak truth to power. We need to find a way to continue in these footsteps of courageous people who have spoken their truth, who have magnified, multiplied Jesus' words and Jesus' ways. So we have lived through Black History Month again, and now we're in Women's History Month. And so we're thinking about some of the women and some of the individuals who have felt captivated and called and equipped by Jesus' words and ways so that they could be more faithful in their lives. We're always looking for models, we're always looking for examples, we're always looking for inspiration where we can be more faithful, where we can say those words of Jesus and live into the ways that he lived. And so here's a prayer called A Prayer for the Women Who Rise. Holy One, God of Miriam's song and Mary's courage, today we remember the women who rise, speak, nurture, and transform the world. We remember Miriam, who took a tambourine in her hand and led the people in freedom's song. Teach us to celebrate liberation whenever chains fall away. And you remember Jesus stepping on the chains in that stained glass window to make them fall away. We remember Deborah, judge, prophet, and leader of her people. Give us wisdom to guide communities with courage and justice. We remember Ruth, who crossed borders with loyalty and hope. Help us welcome the stranger and honor the strength of immigrants and refugees. We remember Mary Magdalene, first witness to resurrection morning. May we trust the voices of women who proclaim new life when the world expects silence. And we remember women of our own time. We remember Harriet Tubman, who followed the stars toward freedom and carried others with her. We remember Rosa Parks, whose quiet resistance helped move a nation. We remember Malala Yousafzai, who speaks to girls everywhere so that they can learn. We remember Wangari Maathai, who planted trees and hope across the earth. God of justice, their stories are not finished because their courage lives on in us. So plant in our hearts Miriam's joy, Deborah's wisdom, Ruth's devotion, and Mary Magdalene's proclamation of life. And send us into the world to keep singing, keep planting, keep resisting, and keep hoping, until justice grows like a forest, freedom rings like a tambourine, and every daughter knows she was created to rise. Amen. And so we have before us this story of the woman at the well. She is thirsty. She has had challenges and burdens in her life. People have not always respected her, and so Jesus offers her a drink of living water. She doesn't really understand, and they have this wonderful conversation about buckets and about who knows whom and how it is that they can receive this living water. And so we are reminded that there is refreshment and that it's right here in front of us. The Holy invites us not to hoard that water that can gush from rocks, that can come deep from the wells, but to find ways to refresh in it, to bathe and splash in it, and to share it with one another. Please pray with us. Holy One, we are grateful that you are always eager to turn toward us. You're always turned toward us. And you invite us to just move our gaze to meet you, to see you with gifts immeasurable, to sense you pouring your living water upon us and bubbling up inside of us with this gift of living water. We can be parched because of the things that others do, because of the circumstances and predicaments that we're in, because of some of the choices that we make. Regardless of how we find ourselves parched or empty or aching, you meet us and you refresh us. You give us balm and salve and sweetness because you love us and you're committed to us. And you invite us in that reception of that kind of care to turn toward each other, to offer those gifts abundantly, lavishly. And so help us as we journey through this season of Lent to find ways to say the things that Jesus said and to do the things that Jesus did, because they are good and they are right, they are holy, they are healing, they are compassionate and kind, gentle and bold. So be with us, O God, as we seek to be more Christ-like in the ways that we live. Amen.